All right, so good morning. Welcome to this Friday morning Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Commission meeting. And today we'll open the meeting, and I don't think there's any announcements. We'll approve the minutes from 7/9/21. Any corrections or changes?
Yes, I'd like to make two corrections. One is paragraph 2, line 5, a misspelled public. It doesn't have an A-L-L-Y. That's L-Y. And then paragraph 3, the third line should end with a period after G-J. The last part of that sentence should be deleted.
Okay, anyone else? No, great. Okay, and can we make a motion to approve with correction?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And I'm so sorry to ask, but can we have a volunteer to do the minutes? We still are secretary-less.
I think that it's my turn to do the minutes.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, just to remind you, at the last meeting, we voted to rotate alphabetically according to last name.
That's a great idea, until we have a secretary. Great. Okay, thank you, John. I just listed things on our agenda to talk about that were sort of needed, that maybe, the first is harvesting update, and I know Tuesday evening at the conservation meeting, we signed the order of conditions. They've been sent for the 10-day wait for NHSP, the Natural Heritage. So we're in that waiting period, but it has been signed. So anyone else?
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. We just have to breath and wait.
Yeah, and Jackson was there. He answered questions, so to cross your fingers. And
Did Jackson, the photos that I sent to the select board showing the issues, should that be sent to them also? I mean, it's too late now, but from what I understand, you're supposed to hear any day. I mean, you have 10 days to hear. I was just wondering if, I don't know, sometimes visuals just send a message.
Well, quite frankly, I think if they wanted visuals, they would actually come here, which would make a lot more sense than the way it was.
Well, what makes more sense is not the discussion, because you're absolutely right. Logic is something somehow.
That's my answer, is I don't think it's going to help, Michael. I think if anything, it might hurt. I think we just.
I think you're erring on too much caution. If this was the first year, I would agree with you. But if we really get an issue, I think.
I know. Do you remember though? Didn't you send out that video last year?
That was not. Yes, I sent that to. But that's because, in fairness, I sent that video, but the application did not apply to that video. The application last year applied to milfoil and things like that, invasives. It did not apply to recreational. So the video, I had no idea it was just an invasive NOI. I thought it was what we've always done in the past. So I did send it to somebody at DEP. But I think it came from an independent person like myself, rather than explaining the importance of clearing lilies from shore to shore. And everything I've read is that the lilies, when you go shore to shore, are really bad news for natural plant life, for fish life, for building up silt. It's more negative than the harvester is. The harvester is actually a wonderful antidote for, and a mild one compared to what the lilies and some of the nuisance vegetation is doing to the lake. And I think sometimes when you write on a form that we want to clear nuisance, they may just look at that as a name or whatever, but they may not have any idea of how bad it really is. And so they're looking at it from non-visual. I think you need visuals. I really do. I think visuals is, so I'm just throwing it out. I took photos.
I actually took some photos. I went down to the cove the other day. I
Uh-huh.
was checking out, it was amazing how much water was going over. But there's actually was a channel. So there was, it's not completely filled with water lilies. There was a central area that is open.
Because it's been harvested over the years.
Absolutely. It's getting,
So-
if you look, Roxanne, if you would notice that channel, as it gets harvested over the years, stays better. But we're coming, this year, it's worse than it was last year. Last year, we had more. This year, there's parts of it, not by the cove, but in between the cove and whatever, that is now filling in. And if we don't get a harvester in, it will fill in. These lilies will fill in.
When we went on on Chuck Corder's boat to go out and do the sampling, I haven't been up through the outlet in quite probably a few years, and I was shocked at how much it's just.
Right,
It's
yeah.
just one little alley down through.
Places that have been harvested are somewhat open,
Yeah,
because they get the root system out, and you can walk on it.
Oh, good.
I mean,
That's
it's about
good.
3 feet down, and you can actually walk on it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know that this is going to change anything in their opinion. We basically have how many more days? More days or something?
Or no, it was Tuesday and then we have to wait 10, so it's probably the late next week. So just.
well, I think
you know,
we should be open for a discussion here to see whether we should.
It certainly is.
Yeah, and I feel bad I didn't bring the photo. I took aerial photos of the whole outlet going up to the island to show the situation. And I wrote to, Roxanne has probably the email about the importance after doing research of clearing lilies. Lilies shouldn't be 80% or 90% of an area. They should be basically no more, according to everything I read, 30%, 40%, because it's such a detriment. And I proposed that these photos, I sent them about 2 weeks ago. I proposed that these photos be submitted to NHESP so they understand the nuisance part of it. Because they want us, from what I understand, they may want us to do another testing of seeing how the invasives are. Is that, or correct me?
Well, the comments, and Jamie can speak to this, the
Yeah.
comments that they submitted to the Conservation Commission included the fact that they didn't want us to harvest
Right.
unless we were at least 50% invasive.
Right, so this is what I'm trying to get to is these photos show,
We're not at least 50% invasive.
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
And lily pads are native. They're not invasive, even though they take over a large.
They're nuisance, not invasive.
Yeah, they're nuisance.
We know that, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's a given, that's part
Okay.
of this conversation. The issue is whether, if your native doesn't, if a native overtakes a lake and makes it unhealthy for a lake, just because it's native by definition, doesn't make it healthy. It's just native. But these should not be taking over 80% or 90% of areas of this lake from shore to shore. And in order to get the harvester in, I really think it's important that they see the situation rather than just read on a thing that we want to do in,
Well, when we wrote that NOI, it doesn't talk about nuisance vegetation. It talks about recreational.
or recreational, yeah.
And so I don't think they're going to respond well to the idea that this is a nuisance because these are native plants.
Right.
But we've made that point, and I think
Yeah,
Jackson.
but what I'm trying to get to is the,
Why?
They've referred to them as nuisance in the past.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael, can you
Yeah.
make a very specific statement so that I can make sure I understand exactly what you're doing? In other words,
Yeah.
just so that we can know what
Uh-huh.
we're talking about, can you make a specific
Thank
statement
you.
that we can discuss? I mean, I think I have the gist of it, but I just want to be very clear. I'm getting a feeling that you and Roxanne have a slightly different opinion about something. I'd like to know exactly what it is. What are you proposing be done?
I'm proposing that we send photos of exactly the situation that we're facing in much of the lake of these nuisance or recreational. The recreational is what we want to do by getting rid of the nuisance, is from what I understand. All right.
Who is we in that?
Yeah.
Who should
Yeah.
be sending this?
It has to come from the
See, this is
town.
a public meeting, and we want everybody who's listening to understand exactly what we're talking about too. So when you say "we," who do you think should be sending this?
The town, the select board, or whoever is, or if Concom is doing the NOI or whatever, whoever the powers to be that run the town for that situation.
As part of this order of conditions, you'd like to have an accompanying set of photos that you provided a lot of us with.
Right. I sent them to you too.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
yes, right.
Yeah. And I really think that part of that application should have backup of why we need to do this. And now I understand that it might be too late. Now we're waiting for it, but I really think it's an imperative part of an application to show, not just saying we want to do recreational harvesting, knowing that they're not just going to say yes to it. But I believe that we've gotten so many no's that we have nothing to lose by showing the situation that we're facing so that they understand what we're talking about.
Okay, and Roxanne, do you think
Well,
that that's not a good idea?
Well, I just question whether that's going to help or not. On the other hand, we can talk to town council and get their opinion in terms of whether or not they feel that that would be helpful in any way, shape, or form, and what the best way to approach that would be. And also, I want to talk to them about, well, what if they come back with all kinds of crazy conditions? Do we have any recourse? Can we continue that?
Call Mike Gorski up in Springfield. He runs the Springfield office for DCR, and just ask him what he thinks.
Or send them to him and say, what do you think of us submitting this? This is the issues we have. And I wrote a whole
He's
list.
good. He's been here. He's been out on the boat with us, and
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And you know, Roxanne, you know, all the list I wrote about why these are not a good thing to have in the lake, I think should be added to it. So I spoke to Mike Canales, and he said he researched it after I sent that to see if what I was saying. And he said, no, everything I've read for all these lilies covering the lake is really, everything I've read also backs up the fact that this is not healthy for our lake.
Well, it's covering several areas.
Yeah, but you have,
Clearly, the channel is the biggest issue.
of course,
Yeah.
but the channel is, in terms of shoreline and whatever, is about, I would say, a third of the shoreline of the whole lake.
Excuse me, how do we implement Gary's suggestion?
get on a phone, call
Right.
But we should pick someone.
Yeah, well, I don't know him that well, but I gladly, I mean, but I think it should be coming from the harbor master
him. I'll
or
call him on
from,
Monday morning. I'll see if
Who is Gorski?
he's head of DCR in Springfield.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. I think you're probably the best person to contact him and
Yeah.
just feel him.
I'll send you.
He may push me off to, there's, what they do is they have a specialist who has like 3 or 4 lakes underneath them, and he may slough me off to that, that particular person.
Okay.
But that's fine too. At least we'll get the stuff into the record, and we can find out unofficially if it would be helpful to put it with any paper we.
Okay.
I'll send you the
Illustrate,
photos.
yeah.
I'll send you that
Roxanne.
link.
Just a question. If
Yes.
Foresight has written
PDF.
this and has sort of been hired to write the NOI, to do the harvesting, should
I saw
we be looping them in or not? How do you?
Well, we can certainly speak to them as well, but I think that we need to get this feedback from Mike Gorski and just see where we stand with that.
All right, I just don't want anyone to have,
Let me just say one more thing. I sent that photo, those to you too, Charles. What was your opinion on that?
Of the photos?
Well, not of the physical, of the whole, out of my photography.
Well, I like Gary's suggestion. I think it makes sense to use that, the photos speak for themselves, so that with the harbor master giving his opinion and I hope giving us a report back about what happens, I think that's the best strategy.
Right.
Also, the fact that the area that we're talking about in the channel, it's inhibiting property owners from being able to utilize them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably not whether or not it's healthy for the lake. I think that the key here.
Well, the
for us-
reason I wrote that is because that's what it seems the NHESP seems to be concentrating on, the most, not whether we have recreational use. So I was just
Can't
addressing.
figure out what they're concentrating on. I think it shifts from time to time.
A few years ago, Mike issued an edict and he said, we want to make DCR more user-friendly and we want to have a good balance between protecting nature and helping out the people that live on the lake. So it's not just
That's good.
protection all the way. They're trying to balance, the two. And that's why I think he's a good person to go to see what we should do.
Great. Thank you. That's
Thank you,
excellent.
Carrie.
Heritage is part of Fish and Game, isn't it?
Natural heritage, I think it's part of DC.
I thought they were their own.
Yeah, they're part of some, they're either
Are?
DCR or Fish and Game, and I'm not sure which one.
Fish and Wildlife,
I'll
maybe?
look it up. I'll look it up.
But you have to explain to them in it why we're sending them. We seem to be stuck on this other part from NHESP.
I'll talk to you
Anyway,
more.
yeah, no problem.
All right, so thank you. And dredging update, does Roxanne or Michael have any information that they can
You're
share?
going to be more up to date than I am. I've been a little preoccupied.
Well, I'm not anymore today because we really
Okay,
didn't
that's
have
okay.
it progress. No, I
Not just
understand
happened
that.
lately.
We haven't really progressed since our meeting with GZA, but we have, Roxanne and I compiled all these emails that were going back between GZA and us. And GZA in April had said that they were going to get a quote for not only doing the dredge, the whole lake of, let me try to get this in order. There are 4 or 5 different areas that originally we were going to desilt and put the GO2 bags in around the lake, around the outlet. And they came back in April and said everybody that they went to said, maybe we should be having a pipe going straight to Bullard Woods instead of going to the different areas and having trucks go to the different areas, desilting the water in the GO2 bags, then driving them on the roads and whatever. Let's just go straight to Bullard Woods. And we went, if that's the way it should go, it sounds like it would be less expensive. As per your conversation, we'll agree to do that. And the conversations from April until they gave us the quote were all about going straight to Bullard Woods. And then they came back with a quote based on not going to Bullard Woods, but going to all the different areas. And if you want a price, that's a whole different thing. And that may, a price going to Bullard Woods, we may need a change order and that may cost us something. My recommendation is that we should highlight the emails from April saying that from April, the one you picked out, which was the best, saying that we will get a quote both ways for you. And we should say that we were under the guidance, your guidance, as per your email, that we would get a quote for both ways. And as you see in the other emails, we're all in agreement with that, and you were in agreement. So to tell us that that quote can only be done later on or at an additional expense is not what we all agreed to,
Right.
as per your email.
Right.
And that's my suggestion.
That's the conversation we need to have with them.
Yeah, and I think it should be done.
To the fire.
Yeah, and I think it should be done by email. Just send them an email showing them that email from April 9th and highlight what they themselves wrote and said they would do.
Right.
But that being said, I believe that Roxanne, Greg, and I should be having a meeting so that we can outline the whole project and what needs to be done analytically and timeline from GZA, so that we can project a timing of when we hope to do it. Last time when we met with NHESP, which was a year and a half ago, we were slated for 2022 to have this dredging done. As I doubt that's going to happen, and I doubt because costs are all over the place based on GZA. GZA gave us a cost of 2.4 a couple of months ago, and then they came back a month ago with 7 point something based on ludicrous nonsense to me. So we have to get back and have a meeting for Greg's sake also.
So I can tell you that for next week, for this coming week, I'm free Tuesday and Wednesday, pretty much all of it.
Should I set up something with Greg, or will you do that?
If you could set it up, it
Do it.
would be helpful. I've got to go to
Absolutely.
Boston again Thursday
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
surgical procedure for my daughter. And then
Tuesday or Wednesday? you're saying?
Tuesday or Wednesday are the best days. If need be, I'll be available for the
Can
day.
we get Michael in on these conversations?
Sure.
All right. So it's got to be before a certain time then, if Michael joins us. Because he leaves, like,
Which Michael are you talking
talk
about?
about
This
Michael.
Michael?
Oh, I apologize. Well, he's always invited.
Canales?
Michael Canales.
I'm like,
I apologize.
Good dog.
because I'm like,
Michael
that's
C.
Michael.
I'm not sure when he's leaving.
Oh, is
I don't
you say
know.
leaving time at the end of the day or leaving for vacation or leaving when?
He's going on vacation, so
Oh.
he's taking some time off, but yeah, before 4. Before 4 o'clock.
Before 4 o'clock, okay.
Thank you. So, this was an old thing, but I didn't, the lake management plan, any updates or any news, or is that?
No, I'm gonna follow up on that.
Okay.
I wonder, yeah,
Oh, go
I have a
ahead,
little
Charlie.
question about that, actually.
Sure.
I mean, not that the first thing we just talked, this dredging thing is immediately relevant to this, but I'm just wondering how much of a finished product will be offered at the end of the lake management plan that would require change orders and things like that, if we decide to look at it, or whether we're getting some sort of a template idea from them. Do you have any idea what they're
Well,
thinking
we're gonna
about?
presumably, we're gonna get a lake management plan that they're gonna draft, but it's meant to be a living document. Now, that doesn't mean that they maintain it. It means that we maintain it. So once they produce a final document, then I don't
Who's they?
anticipate GZA out of Hartford.
Any idea the time frame that we're looking at there?
No, because I have to touch base with them.
Do you want me to talk to Chris Mann and some of those guys, or do you want, I mean, you're
You
more in
could.
charge of it than I am, so.
You
I-
certainly could. I have no problem with that.
Okay, fine, I'll
Yeah.
talk.
Thank
And
you.
at some point, I'm gonna try to call them on Monday.
Okay,
But-
well, I'll wait for you to talk to them then, and if,
Okay.
and,
Then I'll bring you up to date, and then you can follow up.
Okay,
if
good.
We need to.
Should this lake management plan be presented to the Conservation Commission for comment?
Certainly can be,
I think it should be,
in a draft form, yeah, before it's finalized.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Gary, you're up. Boat ramp updates, concerns about the trees and the fencing and any other things you might want to share.
So, I think, excuse me, I think people are finally aware that there are some problems on the, erosion end. And it got worse during the high water. In fact, I just got an email from Kevin Foran this morning, who's on the Zebra Mussel Committee. And he mentioned that these trees are in danger, and there's a stand of 4 oak trees that are being underwashed severely. And then there's a huge maple tree right on the left-hand side of the ramp as you look out, that the root system has just been washed away and the roots are sticking up there. We really need to do something this year, because it could be, we could be in trouble, in the spring of next year. And the other thing is the signage down at the.
excuse me, Gary, before you leave that one point, can I just ask you a question? I understand the vulnerability of the trees in terms of falling over when the root system.
And taking-
Not the viability of the trees after the roots have been exposed.
They're still in good shape, but I'm afraid that we're going to get a good strong wind. They're going to go over and take half the bank.
So if we covered them back over again, they're likely to survive.
Again, I'm not an expert in that area, but yes, it's been getting worse and worse, but with this rain we've had and the runoff up there, it's exacerbated it.
So could our tree warden help with that?
He's been up and
Oh,
looked
good.
at it.
Okay.
Did you see what his comments were?
No, I have no idea.
He was up the other day and he took a look at it.
This is state property. Why are we responsible to?
Because if we don't tell them about it, then nothing happens. They don't come down there that often.
Yeah.
Have we-
They
That's
are-
gonna be an expensive endeavor, taking those trees down. Or doing
Or
anything.
they don't want to take them down.
No.
We want to
If
save
it
them.
adds
Fixing
swale.
whatever, but I mean, that's gonna be,
They could come down, but let's hope they don't.
Have we spoken with an arborist about the appropriate way to,
Well, I think-
mitigate all that?
I think public access should be directly involved with this because they're probably going to be the one that writes the check
Okay,
or a good portion of it.
okay.
So have the selectmen contacted public access about the things that we need done?
Let me ask Mike if he's done that.
Or you have, maybe Mike could do it, but.
Yeah, Mike is the one who would typically do
Dave
it.
Cameron, I can give a number if he wants. And you can give him a list, but tell him that the biggest thing right now is to save the trees.
Yeah,
Where does Dave work? In Boston area?
I think Framingham, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
No, I think he's in downtown Boston.
And who were you going to send the lily things to?
On my course.
Okay, all right, Dave Cameron, all right.
Who's public access?
Public access is Dave Cameron.
Okay, and I know there's a problem with the fence, I guess.
I wish that hadn't gotten into Carol's newsletter.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that might
Uh-oh.
be, that might be,
Gonna wait.
what was commented about, I
St.
didn't,
Iredale owns the property right next to
Right,
Laura.
yeah.
And I spoke to her about, the fishermen, remember the beginning, in the
Yeah,
spring,
yeah.
the fishermen said that little extension out over the lake was illegal.
yeah.
And then the selectmen said, well, the fence is illegal. I just,
No, the selectman did not say that. Patrick White said that.
Yeah, Patrick did.
Only Patrick said that.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I talked, I'm friendly with Jane. I talked to her about it. I said, if we can take that little extension down, which doesn't do anything for you, the selectmen sort of said they, look the other way about the fence. And
There's nothing wrong with the fence as
Yeah.
far as we're
Well,
It's
concerned.
that dangly.
she's a little, she can be tough.
Okay,
And she threatened, basically, that the fence was 7 feet on her property and that if she replaced it, she was going to move it to the property line. And then I said, well, we should have a survey done, or we should find out what the dimensions of our property are and go from there.
well, it's state property though.
We probably have a filing in town hall someplace.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, and I looked at that the other day. I went down there, every once in a while I go down and I check. And I looked at that specifically, and it looks like it's gonna be easy. Because what they have is they've got that extension.
Yeah.
And on the extension, it says whatever, private property, no trespassing. Then there's this iron part, and it's, into a tree.
About 3 feet over.
Yeah.
All right, all she's got to do is detach that bar from the tree, loosen it,
Yeah.
swing it over, and reattach it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be along the shoreline. It's like, this is whatever, a 15-minute job
I
maybe.
explained to her because of the section 91 dock filings with the state, that it is permissible to walk along the shore and cross over people's docks. And,
Right.
part of the rule is that you have steps on both sides of your dock with signage. Nobody does. And we haven't been called for it. So just kind of letting it.
you own to the high water mark, basically, if you live on the lake, edge of the water, right?
Yep.
The high water mark
I think
is
it's
the end of your
6 feet.
property.
Okay. Can someone in the town just take off that little dangly
She
part?
said it would be okay, but I think we should do it in writing because I
Okay.
don't want to have her angry with us.
Right, of
You know,
course.
in peace.
I know. Be nice.
Do we know who owns the fence or who constructed the
fence.
fence?
It was put up by I think the Darrens put that up in the
Okay,
east.
So it wasn't the town.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't the town's fence.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. Michael, you said something about chain link fence. Is that illegal or something?
Well, I think that's what Patrick was alluding to, was the bylaw. about
I don't think it is.
it's not illegal.
Okay.
It's,
I don't think.
and I don't know, I mean, that is probably, who knows, that could be grandfathered. We don't know how old
Oh,
the
yeah, I
fence
think
is.
more than-
But the way it reads is
Been
something
there
to
as
the
long as
effect
I've been
of,
around.
you can't have chain link fence on your residential property unless it cannot be seen from the street. So, if you can't see it from the street,
It's,
you're good.
listen, it's 20 years old. It's over that.
It's
So
over that.
Grandfathered in.
Well,
It's
that.
maybe, I think it's been there 50 years maybe?
Yeah,
Who?
50 years maybe?
No, it's not that old. I think Ed Darren put that in. Ed and Diane Darren
Oh,
were trying
okay.
to buy that property at, what, the mid-90s? Yeah,
That's before-
mid-90s.
Okay,
And, or it could have been at,
so we're
90.
talking, yeah, almost
Been there as long
30,
as
it's
I've
got to
worked
be
here.
30 years.
I mean, we almost, if that's the case, if our property is the line is 7 feet in, we almost own it because of adverse possession, but I'm not an expert on that. I think you have to build something on the property to make it adverse possession play. Just having it and using it doesn't count.
okay. Well, but she's not against that, we
She just got a little.
we want to have
Really?
maybe-
Did you
we'll
get
have a
really-
formal agreement.
Roxanne, yeah, you might be the person
Yeah.
to talk to her, you know, like
Yeah,
in your whatever way.
yeah, now we can do some kind of a
Yeah.
formal written agreement that we
As the
can.
chair,
You
yeah.
could tell her I was wrong about the fence being illegal, the chain link part.
Okay, yeah,
No, I was.
I wouldn't even mention that. I wouldn't even mention legal or illegal.
No.
no.
I wouldn't
No.
mention any of that.
The only thing is this.
Yeah, that's all you-
That's all, that's all we care about.
Exactly. That's all I had brought up.
Yeah, and that they should be able to walk across as an, she'll understand. I think someone would understand.
Oh, one more thing on the boat ramp is that we had about, I think, almost 20 tons of airport mix put in down there, or maybe 2,000 pounds, but it was a good amount of airport mix. It's still already starting to wash out. So
Oh, it's
I
been,
think paving about 100 to 150 feet of the lot would be a really, I mean, after the trees, that might be the second most important thing.
Okay.
And also that will help eliminate some of the airport mix bloom we get when it rains.
Can I ask a question about that, Gary? Now, of course, paving allows for the water to run in and heat it up the lake.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, would it be worthwhile to explore any, I understand that, that the airport mix is
It's
a good thing. Are there any other options for surfacing that wouldn't allow the water to run in heated?
Airport mix is the other one, but the trouble is we get bad runoff down there. That's got a few hundred yards of, slightly downsloping, and when the water hits, it all gets channeled over there. We might want to consider maybe not 150 feet, but maybe 50 or 100 feet of asphalt and have some channeling off to the side that we can swale it so it goes off
Slow it
to the
down.
side. And maybe some holding areas down there to let the sediment settle before it drains into the lake, and like they do in, is that how the sewers or the drain off works under streets? Sediment collectors.
It all goes.
What do you think, Mike? Are there any options that would be,
I think-
you know what I'm talking about the hot water going into?
Yeah, I think the paving that up above is a good idea, but the grade needs to be
Yes.
squared away. I mean, the grading, it's kind of probably halfway down in the parking area. It's pitched right to the ramp. So if it could get pitched off to the sides before we get, because, I mean, we're kind of in a little bowl
We
there.
had a whole underground holding that could be pumped out.
The velocity of the water coming down is going to make a big difference in terms of what it carries into the water, I would think. So if we could slow it down,
Yeah.
the grade change.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to start putting infrastructure up there, but I think paving it in a different way and pitching it all as you're looking at the ramp all over to the left, and maybe make a little, I don't, I'd have to really get up there and look at it, but somebody paving can definitely
Again, I
give you a
think,
good
Right.
idea,
I
but
think public access input in this, I
Yes.
think would be imperative, because they've done this in a lot of places.
yeah.
I think
And it was, they suggested paving also.
Okay,
I'd like to minimize the amount of hot water going into the lake. I mean, I think that would be an important aspect of it. In
Yeah.
fact, that's going to be a push, I would hope, that we make all around the lake, that we try to minimize the temperature, increase in the water by flat surfaces, roofs, driveways. And so I think it would be it would be a good standard to set, to do the best we could to minimize that.
It needs some work. You have to look at it a little carefully. I think, again, public access has got the experience in this.
Okay, so will you be looking into that? Would that be the way to go?
I'll call Dave.
Thank you, Carrie.
right, and we'll have Mike Canales call public access as well,
Yeah, that's,
on behalf of the town.
I think we should set the standard. if we're gonna, for the other place around the
Well,
lake.
clearly, I mean, I'm sure they've done this in many, many towns.
Yeah.
Yes, I bet.
Done it many
yeah.
times, so they will probably have good advice.
And my memory is that they had mentioned, like you said, changing the grade to slow it down. It was really important for them. Anything else on that? No?
Oh, yeah, one thing, Moose sent us an email because he's,
Who's Moose?
Kevin Ferran.
Kevin Ferran.
Yeah, about the signage, but is that something that you have to go
Yeah.
through with?
Most of the signs up there are illegible, they've basically fallen apart. And a lot of stuff goes on up there that shouldn't. There's supposed to be no fishing and no swimming from the shore, and it's done all the time. And I'm not stopping it, and our people up there are not. They're invasive species people. If the police come down, they'll shoo them away, but that's it.
So then that's fine.
And you know what? It's working. No one's been hurt. I told our people,
Yeah.
if people get in the way of boats, tell them to move over.
Right.
When we started the zebra mussel thing, Gary was one of the founding, we had all agreed that the zebra mussel monitors were not going to be policemen. It was very important that we tell them that they did not have to feel an obligation.
Right.
Their job was just to check for zebra mussel issues.
And then the dog officer part of it, they were, dogs were up there fighting and not on leashes.
Yeah, but we didn't
We
want,
told them, yeah, right. We
Yeah.
had a meeting with all of them.
oh, you did, because we did not want them to feel that they had to say, listen, no swimming or no
They were
anything. So if that's going to be done and it can't be done, it should not be done by the zebra mussel
Yeah.
monitors.
We've got the public support on the inspection. I mean, everybody up there is an inspector for us, which is really good. And it's a good attitude. And if somebody
Yeah.
comes along who doesn't want to do it, they get basically ganged up on.
Peer pressure. Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It's a good group.
Yeah.
So, water testing, I know the reservoir got tested, and I know that Mike B is doing the monthly bowl testing. Do you have any?
We'll be doing the bowl
Information.
testing. I talked to Chris Main. We were kind of watching the
Oh, the
weather.
weather.
But we're going out Thursday. We tentatively have Thursday. It looks like it's going to be a sunny day, and we're going to go out Thursday and do our data collection and
Okay.
sampling.
Great.
Now, you testing for, quality of the water?
Yeah, they do a whole host of nutrients, nitrite, nitrate, which is septic tank seepage. Unfortunately,
Do we have that done locally?
I have, the Board of Health does it at the beach. I mean, that's part of
Board of Health's testing is much less involved than the testing that Mike is speaking of.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, we just test for E. coli and
yeah, okay.
Is that the swimming area?
it's in a couple, yeah.
Okay.
And
Spots.
basically, it's actually, it had to be posted in one area, sort of near White Pines because of probably because of runoff of just natural stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so I always see the invoices and forward them to our new accountant Cheryl. I don't see the results.
Yeah.
I have a few times, which I take interest in looking at, but so I don't know. I know they test for when I fill out the chain of custody for all the samples that we take. I think we took 61 last month. There is a lot of stuff that they test for, a lot. So very interesting, and they test it down to really, really fine, like micrograms per liter type stuff.
Would they notify us if there's an irregularity? Because we may miss it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are you testing for, Mike?
They're doing a lot of like alkalinity. They do
pH?
Oh, yeah, we do that. What we're going out and grabbing pH, specific conductance, dissolved oxygen, oxygen saturation, temperature, think there's 7 of them that we do.
Phosphorus and nitrogen.
Well, that's the sampling part. When the lab gets our samples, they do all that, all the nutrients to see what's coming into the lake and the 4 different, the 3 inlet.
And they're sent to a lab?
And
They're sent to Phoenix Lab down in Connecticut.
you're taking samples for algae,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
taking samples for critters down there.
And we do the plankton. We have a plankton net. We do that sample that ourselves. There's a lot of stuff.
And then
So
what
the
they do
temperature
is.
thing, you'll be able
carry
to
it-
see right away whether there's been any kind of mixing as a result.
Absolutely.
of this
And
stuff.
and especially DO and turbidity as well.
Right, yeah, so.
So that thermocline is a spike, and then after that thermocline,
Secchi disc reading.
It's 76 now.
Keep our fingers crossed.
it's right.
Yeah. But what they'll do, what they've done every year is basically they get through pretty much half of this, and then they come up with a summary.
Okay.
And then at the end of the year, they do a final report, which incorporates all the test data that's happened all year long and what the indications are and what the
Looking
recommendations
for
are.
a leading indicator that we might find if there could be a bloom.
Right.
And that's.
We actually had excuse me.
Go ahead.
We actually had a good report from Dr. Cortman and his group earlier this year that probably reflects just what Mike is talking about.
Yeah, and with all the rain we've gotten, obviously the lake is up, and the flow of of Shadow Brook, Lily Brook, and Duck Pond Brook will be
Plus the
good indicators with testing. I mean, the turbidity will probably be up, but if there's any runoff of any nutrients and fertilizers and stuff like that, that's a really good indicator where our nutrients are coming.
You get a ton of runoff from pine trees too. That's what kills us.
Oh, interesting. Any other questions for Mike?
I have one question,
Go ahead.
at least for, we had a lot of rain recently. Do you see any kind of let's say, changes or problems that have developed, let's say, uphill from the lake due to the heavy water that might lead to problems later on with excess runoff coming into the lake?
I mean, as far as like erosion type things,
Yes.
I mean, I don't walk the stream beds or anything like that or see any. I don't see any areas. I mean, we're gonna see some turbidity increase, I would imagine, especially in the brooks from that erosion. And Secchi disc is a instant indicator of, Secchi disc is a disc that we drop down into the water with the naked eye and see how far we can see it down into the water column. And it's really interesting how it changes. And I'm curious to see what it'll be compared to the last time, because the water was very clear the last time we were up there.
Well, I'm also talking about the conduits coming down, the actual physical structures. Have you seen any, do you see any threats to the ability to handle that kind of stuff?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
But, all right.
No, our bigger issues are the bridge that's being worked on. I mean, those are the concerns in terms of downstream concerns, that as long as they're working underwater, we have big concerns. And additional erosion
Especially Curtisville.
for the
Bridge.
Curtisville Bridge. More damage, taking place there. So that's a big issue.
But the one on 180, that's not 183.
Interlake and
Oh,
Crossroad, the
Yeah.
one that's been closed, yeah,
Yeah.
the water coming out of the lake.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to worry about the
Favors.
walls, we have to worry about the
Walls,
structure.
I understand the walls are.
Structure itself.
Right.
Because the
Yeah.
structure itself has been deemed unsafe,
Right.
for basically 11 years. And they've already moved the water and sewer lines temporarily because of that danger, that if that whole thing failed, we would lose water and sewer service, so. Yeah, those are the bigger issues. And then we've had a problem over on Johnston property. Same thing, it's all this additional runoff, and drone went up, and it does look like there's a beaver dam down in there. But it could have just been the increased flow, because it's feeding into Larrywog. So it could have been the increased flow, and Larrywog was just keeping this steady. So it was going through the culvert, like gangbusters up above, going through it down below, and then just sitting and kind of backing up a little bit. So yeah, those are the kinds of things, but there's not a lot we can do. Mother Nature rules.
Anything else for Mike? John, did you want to, I think you had a sewer and water meeting with Mike?
Yeah, we did. And, we discussed the bridges and we discussed the pumping station. We spent a great deal of time with two guests from the Lake Drive Association answering questions. So there were two representatives who were in attendance, and we spoke about their desire to hook up to sewer, and we discussed the reserve capacity, which appears to be adequate, and we discussed why some people were hooked up initially in Beechwood and Mackinac 25 years ago, yet these people now that want to hook up they've been told that they probably have to pay for the hookup. Unless, and then one of them brought up the fact that we have some money. I think there's like 500,000 on the table that may be useful for infrastructure. And they suggested, well, why don't we use that? And I think Mike said that 500,000 would be a drop in a bucket for this type of project. This is becoming a health issue now because it's not just convenience. Although interestingly enough, of the 38 houses that are involved, only 2 of them are permanent. The others are.
Wait. Oh, start from the beginning. 2 are what?
Permanent.
2 are permanent
What do you mean by that?
residents. The other
No,
are,
we're more than 2. Just
yeah, well, this
we're
is
about 7, I think.
7.
Pretty
Right,
sure.
Right, but 5 of them are already hooked up, or 3 or 4 of them or something in that. Where
Like
where the sewer-
Anita is hooked
where the
up.
sewer-
I think 3 are hooked up, might
Yeah,
be.
3, yeah, there's like
Yeah.
Hooked up.
3 full-time
Yeah.
houses that would be hooking up if the extension went down there.
So you're talking 4,
Something in that,
and that's out to roughly.
out of 38 houses, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we spoke about capacity and of course we have the capacity. I think at this point it's just a will to do this. And we talked about possibly getting a meeting going on with Jim Willits, who will probably be invited at our August meeting when we have another meeting, and he'll tell us what his options are. Other than that,
So let me just add to that. We had a Lake Drive Association meeting a week ago, or the 11th. Was that a week? Was that last Saturday? I can't. Sometime in the past. And we're going to do a survey of people. We're going to send to everybody to give you more information. One of the issues, of course, was that they felt it was unfair that the rest of the lake, it was all paid for. And even the engineering was all paid for by the town. And they're concerned, why should then the burden be put on the west side of the lake? Or the whole west side is not covered, not just Lake Drive, but I think the whole west side. But I'm not positive. But also, the issue is also for the health of the lake, why I thought the Lake Drive should get priority. It's because you're talking about 35, 38 families that in the summer totally being used. I mean, it's a community of everybody using it and now early with the COVID, it was even earlier and more people were living there full time. But the concern was that if, let's say, DeSistos or something create something, will it be a first come, first serve situation? Will they lose the ability to use that piping if it goes to a DeSistos? In other words, if it's not done sooner, will we lose that capacity to someone else? Was one of the concerns of Lake Drive residents. How quickly does this decision have to be made before we lose that? Or is that not a worry?
Are you
Not a
assuming
worry.
that DeSisto is not on the sewer?
No, you're
I
worried
thought they
about the Sisto building out. And having
Building
a
out,
plan and
Oh.
taking
right,
up-
thank you.
taking up
Yeah,
that.
right now they're on the sewer, but they're not being used. But if, let's say condominiums, or let's say things were being used, what will that mean to the sewer system's capacity?
Well, since we don't have any proposed projects, I don't think that's it.
No, I'm just bringing up, bringing up
I don't think
concerns.
38 houses are gonna really add a whole lot.
No
of
problem,
anyway.
it's good, I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that,
Yeah.
right?
So one of the things is, and that's what John mentioned, is there's the state or federal money that's coming to all towns. And I think we're gonna be in the $520,000 range of money. And the representatives from Lake Drive had asked if that part, because it's for infrastructure, it's for basically internet and water and sewer, which is great. And if they could, a portion of that money could be used to do the study or maybe the engineering. I would think that if, the only thing that I mentioned in our meeting the other day that I could see is, okay, well, we're gonna start raising our hand over here, what about us? And money starts getting grabbed up and fairly and equitably distributed, I would say. So that's the only, problem I could see, but it's certainly water and sewer expanding out for sewer. I mean, our capacity, as I mentioned in our meeting the other day, is 460,000. That's our design flow. If we get within 80% of that, if we get over 80% of our design flow, then 90 days consecutive, we have to, the town is told by DEP, you will upgrade your treatment plant to accept those flows. Now, with all this rain, we've been well over our design flow the last week. I mean, I don't foresee us obviously being 90 days consecutive, but we've been putting out, one day we put out almost 800 and something thousand gallons to the river. So we've been getting inundated with I&I, infiltration and inflow. So it'll be interesting to see when we get this money, when it comes in, and what projects will be on the table to look at.
Can I ask you a question? Michael, what's like, forget about the rainfalls, what's the norm, like what's the average?
150 to 200,000 a day in the summer, peak flows.
And you're allowed how much? Did you say up to?
400.
Oh, so relatively, there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
It sounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, 38 homes is not really gonna be even noticeable in the flow.
Right, but big ticket item.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I think the important there is that the sanitary facilities are very important here. It's the fact that Jim Willits has already told us that many of those septic systems just aren't
Terrible.
well.
Not only did they fail, but you're right next to the lake.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the issue also.
And we do take a sample in the outlet every month, and that would, as indicators of, nitrite, nitrate, and looking at those different things, you would see somebody's systems leaching into the lake, so to speak.
Somebody who just
But you
bought a
can't-
brand new, I apologize, go ahead.
But you can't tell exactly where it's coming from,
course,
right?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, someone who just bought a house last week with these rains, their septic system totally failed. They have to put a porta potty. They have now
Wow.
working. So for many people the terrain is tough. It's small areas. It's hard to put, the electronic systems in, or because you need certain space. So I'm hoping that the survey that we do that's going out to everybody will be a positive one for information for you, right?
Anything else for Mike or John on the committee meeting? Okay, I think I have an apology that I think you guys wanted to do the re-voting thing, and I forgot to put it on the agenda. So if you want, I can put it on the next agenda. It is my apology.
What's the re-voting? What do you
Well,
mean?
because it's been a year, I think it's a yearly thing, we have to do there's a name for it, every committee does. You do the.
Reelection.
Reorganization.
Thank you. So it is my bad, I didn't put it on the agenda, so if it's okay, can we wait till next meeting, or is that
Yeah.
Sure.
illegal? All right, anything else anyone wanted to talk about or put on the agenda for next?
I just have one little.
Sure.
Last Sunday, I addressed the Mackinac Heights Association. A lot of new people up there evidently. And their concern is with Town Beach. And I mentioned that the Stockbridge Bowl Association had given some money to Parks and Rec. I wonder if anything's happened with that. Has anyone heard?
What are the concerns about the beach? I don't think I know them.
The beach is, it's a little tough down there. I mean, the swamp grass is starting to grow over on the northern end of the beach. And also, they asked if we could put up more kayak racks. It's becoming it's a kind of crowded down there, but
But I thought we couldn't launch from there. Like if you had a kayak there, you can't, can you put it in there?
yes, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Too, and that's one of their concerns.
Okay.
Well,
That's why they
there's
discussed
plenty of
maybe-
room down there, and we do have 2 sections of dock that could be used away from the swimming area for boarding and it would, I think it would make better use of the area down there, but
Yeah, I recommended that a while back, the one dock that we had over here on the river, which had then gotten washed down, and when they got that repaired, I talked to Nick
I've
and
got 2
said,
sections of dock that are in the.
you have more?
Yeah, we used to use them when we had SBA meetings there, but there's 2 sections of dock, they're like 10 feet long. And we could put them, where the swamp grass is.
I can tell you that we did get the letter from Richard Seltzer about the donating money. We did approve it. We accepted it as a select board. I don't think we've received it. I don't think we've received a check.
We can get it to you within a day or 2.
No. Let's just go back up. I think the conditions, if I remember right, was that the money was available when the town showed that something was done. In other words, the SBA didn't want to just hand over 18,000 for whatever the reasons. So they wanted something to be done to show that the money was being used. And
Well,
so
that-
I'm just saying, you can.
It's a
you can
problem. I'm
follow
going to
up.
go back and read that letter because
Yeah.
that came up and
Yeah.
no, we can't do it that way. Either you make a gift and you.
All right, well, that's between-
Stipulate how it can be used.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's exactly what.
Well, I believe that.
Had accepted.
Well, whoever's the
So-
donor gives the
Can't do anything
condition.
if we don't have the money is the bottom line.
Yeah,
Right.
but those
We have a
are,
new president coming in really quick, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
the other thing is, I'm wondering if Parks and Rec should be part of the discussion of
Oh, absolutely.
the beach thing. I mean, where are they or what are they doing
We're the
about
point
it?
people for the beach.
Yeah.
That is their, responsibility. So absolutely. And
Can we get them in here, maybe have one of,
we can invite them.
can you invite,
So it's Steve, right?
it's-
Steve Knopf?
is he the chair? I think he should come in.
Who is it, Steve?
Steve Knopf,
Knopf with a K, A-N,
KNOP.
F,
P-F.
Enough.
Knopf, yeah.
KNO?
PF.
F.
Yeah. Parks and Rec next. Any other concerns, questions?
Yeah, and we did talk about, just so you know, when we're talking about the beach, this came up in the second homeowners meeting and that the entire parking lot has already been redesigned. That work is going to begin at the end of the season, and the work is going to be done by the highway department. A little bit has been done initially, but that we anticipate that they're going to be freed up at the end of the season when we don't have a lot of people there. No, it's not in use.
Right.
That's when they're going to be implementing that.
Any other questions, concerns?
I didn't know if there was a public speak time with people
Oh.
on camera. I didn't.
Did anyone raise their hand?
I don't see any hands raised.
Anyone have questions
Down
in the
here.
public? I didn't see hands raised. Thank you, Mike. Anybody?
Can they?
I don't see
can they
any.
even hear? Could they hear us
Oh,
when
yeah.
we're talking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can
Right
hear
here.
us.
Yeah, it was so low. There was no screaming.
Everyone's
going on.
still sleeping.
Very quiet today.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we at the end?
So, yes. So, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Hi.
So I'll see everyone next Friday, August 6th at 8 a.m.